Today is a very, for me, when I preach on the subject of sin, I do not enjoy preaching on the subject of sin. Because all of us are guilty of committing sin. And when it is exposed, it's more harder to admit that probably the message is not for somebody who sits beside me, but the message is actually for me. One of the common reasons of a flat tire accidents on our roads and our highways while we're driving is because a very tiny or a very small, almost microscopic hole in a tire that had been there for a long period of time. And when it reaches its breaking point, suddenly we have an accident, we have an explosion of the tire. In the very same way, when we think of our moral lives, when we think of our spiritual lives, oftentimes when we see something very bad happen to us, either in a form of sickness, loss of a job, loss of a loved one, breakup in a relationship, or even an unexplained diagnosis of a certain sickness, it is because the seed of that which is bad had been planted in our body. Now, I mind you that there are permissive will of God. In the book of John, the apostles asked the Lord, "Lord, who committed sin? His father or himself that he was born blind?" And Jesus said, "Neither. But this happened so that you will see the power of God, and God will be glorified." So there are permissive things that God had allowed to us. Now, in the text that we have, I gave you a note. Did I give you a sermon outline? Yeah. So, what we should do now is we will read the scripture reading. So you will stand again. I will be the reader, and you will be the church. And this is a responsive reading taken from the book of Joshua, verses 1 to 12. But the Israelites were unfaithful in regard to the devoted things. Achan, son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of them, so the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is near Beth Aven to the east of Bethel, and told them, "Go up and spy out the region." So the men went up, spied out Ai. Church? So 3,000 went up. But they were routed by the men of Ai, who killed about 36 of them. They chased the Israelites from the city gates as far as the stone quarries and struck them down on the slopes. At this, the hearts of the people melted in fear and became like water. Church? And Joshua said, "Alas, sovereign Lord, why did you ever bring this people across the Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay on the other side of Jordan." Church? The Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up. What are you doing down on your face? Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen, they have lied, they have put them with their own possessions." Together? That is why the Israelites have stand against their enemies. They never has forgotten their blessing and what they have done. I will not be with you anymore, but then you destroy whatever home you will take to destruction. May the Lord add more blessing to the reading of His word. You may be seated. I was told by Kuya Robbie that the last preaching I had was on YouTube. Is that true? Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that. Now you can watch me on YouTube. We have read Joshua chapter 7 verses 1 to 12. But actually, as we study the text, we will be studying the whole chapter of the book of Joshua. So for those of you who have not read Joshua chapter 7, this is the time that you will be able to hear the preaching on the whole subject. Now, but let me give you a little background of the surrounding events before we get to Joshua chapter 7. In order for us to understand chapter 7, I need to give you a little bit background, few chapters before that. Now, after the 5 books of Moses, how many of you remember the 5 books of Moses? I'm not going to ask you to recite it, but you remember that there are 5 books of Moses. Raise your hands. 3 people, 4. Oh, there are 5 books of Moses. Okay? Genesis, what's the next one? Exodus, what's the next one? Leviticus, Numbers. Ay, ang galing nyo. Okay, genius. There are 5 books of Moses. After the 5 books of Moses, the book of Joshua. Now, when you read the first verse of Joshua 1, it says, Moses, the servant of God, is dead. And now, the next in command is Joshua. He became the successor of Moses. He became the commander-in-chief in the whole army of Israel. Now, after leaving Egypt, Joshua was commanded by God to lead the people of Israel into the promised land. At that time, the name of the promised land is Canaan. Now, Canaan is also called Palestine, and it's now the present-day Israel. So, anciently, it's Canaan, became Palestine, and now Israel. Now, along the way, as the people of Israel moved forward to the promised land, they were instructed by God to conquer all their enemies leading to the promised land. Here's the text. Joshua said to the Israelites, "Come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God. This is how you will know that the living God is among you, and that He will certainly drive out before you," count them, "Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites." Now, these are the 7 major tribes that they have to overcome before they can claim the promised land. Of course, they have defeated more than 7 tribes in the course of their journey. But these are the major ones. These are the big ones. I believe they also encounter some termites and parasites along the way. Now, from chapter 3, we go to chapter 6. We will find in Joshua chapter 6 the fall of Jericho. Now, what I'm telling you is only an introduction to the text, okay? In the chapter 6, we see the story of the fall in Jericho. It is the battle of Jericho. God has told Joshua that He has given him the city of Jericho. And He told Joshua, when he conquered Jericho, he has to destroy the city, and specifically, he has to destroy everything in it, except Rahab the prostitute. Now why? Because Rahab hid the spies of the Lord. She helped them escape from the hands of the soldiers of Jericho. But other than Rahab and her household, the Lord said, Jericho and everything in it must be what? Completely destroyed. What English term you don't understand in the word everything? When God said, Jericho and everything in it must be completely destroyed, only Rahab the prostitute and the others in her household will be spared. That is a very clear instruction. And because Joshua obeyed God in all of his instruction, the walls of Jericho fell down, and not a single soldier of Israel was killed in the battle. It was a sweeping victory over the city of Jericho. Now, when you look at verse 27 of Joshua, this is what happened at the conclusion. So the Lord was with Joshua, and his reputation, what happened to his reputation? Spread out throughout the land. Just to hear the name of Joshua, the neighboring tribes are trembling right away. Why? Because the Lord was with Joshua. So Joshua became known. But as we finish chapter 6, we go now to our main text. Joshua 7. What happened? Look at what happened just after a sweeping victory. An overwhelming victory over their enemies. Look at what happened. Verse 1, chapter 7. But the Israelites acted unfaithfully in regard to the devoted things. Achan, son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, the tribe of Judah, took some of them. So the Lord's anger burns against Israel. Right after the sweeping victory, Israel had acted unfaithfully in regard to the devoted things. What things? These are the things that belong to God, either to be consecrated and put into the treasury of God or to be destroyed. Now somebody in the tribe of Judah decided that he would disobey the word of God, written in Joshua chapter 6, verse 17. The instruction is very clear. Destroy the city and all and everything that is in it. Now, when you see what went wrong, in chapter 6, they have a complete victory over Jericho. Even though Jericho had more warriors than Israel, there was not even one casualty in the army of Israel. And now, chapter 7, look at what happened. So about 3,000 men went up. They were routed by the men of Ai, who killed about 36. These 36 are all generals. Who killed about 36 of them. They chased the Israelites from the city gate as far as the stone quarries and struck them down on the slopes. At this, the hearts of the people, that's the people of Israel, melted and became like wax. What went wrong? 36 men died, and not only that, 3,000 men were chased by the army of Ai, meaning 2,964 were running away in retreat in the battle of Ai. The flag of Israel was captured in defeat. What went wrong? What happened? Joshua was in total shock. He did not know why this had happened to Israel. All along, he was confident in the promise of God. He remembers every syllable of God's promise in verse 3. This is the promise of God. And verse 3 and 5, he said, Joshua, I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I have promised Moses. No one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Really, God? Is that true? This is the promise that Joshua memorized by his heart. And then they went in chapter 7, verse 1, they were routed by a small army of 3,000. They had 120,000 soldiers. They said 3,000 because the army of A is too small. And yet, those small army was skilled. They killed 36 chariots. Like many of us, Joshua felt a deep sense of loneliness. He has just lost 36 loved ones, his own people. And Joshua did the best thing he could do to find out what's the cause of the defeat. He came to God in prayers. That's the best thing. When you're down, you come to God in prayers. Broken and full of question mark. He even forgot to come to God in thanksgiving. He was so broken and weary that he prayed as if it was God's fault that they were defeated. Now, here's what Joshua did. Joshua, he tore his clothes and fell face down to the ground. This is how broken he was. He fell face down to the ground before the ark of the Lord, remaining there till evening. When was the last time he prayed from morning to evening? But he did. He prayed there. He remained there till evening. The elders of Israel did the same and sprinkled dust on their heads. And Joshua said, Sovereign Lord, why did you ever bring these people across the Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? Is that your purpose? You brought us here to destroy. If only we had been content to stay on the other side of Jordan. Look at the prayer. He was blaming God. Joshua prayed an honest prayer. All of his questions were based on the promise of God. In a sense, he was only asking one question to God. He's saying to God, God, did you break all your promises you made to me? Did you? How could you do this, Lord? So he was blaming God because he was holding on to the promise that I will never leave you nor forsake you. Because it was an honest prayer of Joshua, God has to reveal the cause of their defeat. You see, unless it is a true cry of your heart, unless God sees your brokenness, unless the people of God who are called by His name will humble themselves and pray and seek His face, God will never hear their prayers. But here's the response of God. Joshua's question will now have some answers. Oh, this is the continuation of the prayer. Lord, what I can say now, that Israel has been routed by its enemy. The Canaanites and other people of the country will hear about this, and they will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. What then will you do for your own great name? Now, this is the question. He's asking God, but here is the answer of God. And the Lord said to Joshua, stand up. What are you doing down on your face? Can you imagine when God spoke to you? Stand up! Tumayo ka nga! Anong ninungoy-ngoy mo dyan? Ha? Bakit ka nandyan? Stand up! What are you doing down on your face? I will show you what happened. Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant, which I have commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things, they have stolen, they have lied, they have put them in their own possession. Now, after hearing the voice of God, the one question of Joshua was answered, but the answer of God had created another question. You mean to say, Lord, because one man has taken some of the devoted things that belongs to the Lord and hid in his possession, and that's why we have been defeated in the battle? I don't get it. I don't get it. What is the connection? What possible connection could there be between 36 men who died in the battle and a man hiding something that belongs to the Lord? The answer, there is a big connection. And God is going to reveal it to us. And when God explains it to us, we must remember it, and if possible, we should memorize it. What we are going to do is to examine 3 relationships that will help us understand the connectedness. I don't know if there's a word like that, but if there's not a word like connected, there is now. Okay? So, we need to understand the connectedness of sin in our lives. Here's number 1. The corporate effect of sin in our lives in ministry is people are interrelated. They are connected. Now, I want you to write the missing word here. People are interrelated. They are connected. The verse says, the Israelites acted unfaithfully to the devoted things. To the devoted things. Now, if I am an Israelite, and I am from the tribe of Benjamin, I will protest it right away. That wasn't me, Lord. That man was not even related to me. Achan was from a different tribe. I am from the tribe of Benjamin, and he was from the tribe of Judah, because there were 12 tribes. Achan was just a one bad apple in the basket. Why would we say that Israelites acted unfaithfully to the devoted things of God? In fact, if we read the voice of God in verse 11, you will see that even though it was only Achan who had committed sin against God, the whole nation of Israel was responsible for the sin of one man. Look at verse 11. Look at verse 11. Only one man had committed sin. But when God charged them, he said, they have violated my covenants. They have taken some of the devoted seed. They had stolen. They had lied. They had put them with their own possession. The word they was repeated 5 times in one verse. Joshua could have easily said to God, wait a minute, God, not all of us. It's just one person from one tribe. But even Joshua knows that if one person did it, the whole nation will suffer for it. Because Joshua knows that people are interrelated. They are connected. Joshua knew what God said to Moses when they were staying at the foot of Mount Sinai. This is what he said. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, I'm a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation to those who hate me, but showing love to the 1,000th generation to those who love me and keep my commandments. Now here, some people have asked me in the past, Pastor Ben, will I still inherit the curse of God if my grandparents have worshipped a graven images? Kung yung mga lolo at lolo ko, and I am now on the 3rd and 4th generation in the family heritage, if they worship God, idol God, the curse of God will be upon them. But because I'm on the 3rd and 4th generation, the question is, will I still inherit the curse of God if my parents have worshipped graven images? What if I am the 3rd or 4th generation? How can I break the curse that was imposed to my parents or grandparents? Well, the answer is very clear. We cannot revise the Word of God. Why would you revise this? You cannot revise this. The Word of God is right there. You either accept it and believe. Now, he said in verse 4, I will punish. He didn't say, I might punish. No. Verse 4 is very clear. I will punish the sin of the fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me. What word you don't understand? When he said, I will punish the sin of the fathers to the 3rd and 4th generation. Meaning, if you continue to hate God, then the cycle of curse will continue for as long as your family expand. So the next question is, Pastor Ben, so how do you break the curse? How do you break it? Well, the answer is still there. Look at verse 6. The answer is very clear. He said, I will show, not my curse, but he said, I will show my love to 1,000 generations for those who love me and keep my commandment. The moment you become a lover of God, you have broken the cycle of curse. And instead of curse, He will pour into you His love, and instead of 3rd and 4th generation, He said, He will bless you, shower you with His love to 1,000 generations. Say amen. You need to be a born-again Christian. You need to accept Jesus Christ. You need to be a lover of God. Then you break the curse. Amen. Amen. It's very clear. And the good thing is, He's not limited to 3rd and 4th generation. He said, even to 1,000 generations, the curse is broken. But the truth of the matter, in the covenant people of God, people are interrelated. They are connected. The poison of a hidden sin of one man affected the whole family of God. Now, can you see the implication of this that we're studying right now? Churches are connected. Congregations are connected. Christian fellowships are connected. Do you realize that if there is anyone here in Sunday morning at the bridge, he or she has a hidden sin, and that person is not dealing it with the Lord, he or she is skipping it and allowing it to grow in his or her life, God would say, Bridge, I am not pleased with you. There is a sin in the camp. And for someone to say to God, wait a minute, I did not do it, then God would say, but there is sin in the camp. And a little poison you drop in a tank of water, it pollutes the whole tank. And that is the venom of a sin, hidden sin. You know, I'm not a space scientist, and I don't know exactly the distance between Earth and the nearest star in heaven. But I would imagine it would be several millions of kilometers. So the question is, what's the point, Pastor Ben? The point is, sin may be odorless in the nose of a human being, but in the nostril of God, it stinks. It stinks so bad, so rotten, and God from heaven can smell the stench of it. If you think you can hide it from your brother and sisters in the Lord, you can, but not with God. Say amen. Not with God. Even if He is in heaven, He can. He knows and He can smell the stench of sin. Sin cannot remain inside the sanctuary. Now, suppose one of you brought a dead squirrel one Thursday evening and put it in one of the corner of this church. You may cover it with tissue paper, you may cover it with newspaper, you may cover it with towels, you may spray it with the most expensive perfume. But after a while, this whole place will be filled with the smell of a dead, rotten squirrel. And the only way you can restore the natural smell of this place, if you remove the dead squirrel from the sanctuary and bury it somewhere else. Sin cannot remain inside the sanctuary and expect God to answer your prayers. We cannot expect God to bless our worship service to Him. We cannot expect God to bring us our healings. Sin inside the camp must be dealt with. It must be confessed. It must be surrendered to God. And the people of God say, Amen. Amen. You and I are in the covenant grace of God, and we are interconnected. Now I want you to say to the person next to you, okay? And say it with honesty. My sin can affect you, and your sin can affect me. Say it. That's true. That is true. You and I are connected to each other. Your individual sin can affect me, and my personal sin can affect you. Now, during the month of March and April, the majority of Canadians, they file their income tax return. If you deliberately file a false income tax return this year, I may not know it. Your neighbor may not know it. Your fellow brothers and sisters in the Lord. But the Lord in heaven can smell the stench of it. And this church will be affected because of a hidden sin inside the camp, inside the church. That's number one. Number two, people are interrelated, they are connected. Sins are interrelated. One sin can lead to many. Now, I want you in your it's not in the scripture reading. From verses 19 to 21, from verses 13 to 18, God provided a way of investigation to find out the person responsible for the defeat in the battle of Ai. And as a result, the lot fell on Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah. Now, Then Joshua said to Achan, "My son, give glory to God, the God of Israel, and give him praise. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me." Now this is the investigation and the confession. It was revealed by God. But now, remember when God said to Adam and Eve, "Where are you?" Now, the question is, does God didn't know? Didn't know where Adam and Eve? He knew. When God said, "Where are you?" He knew. Alam niya kung saan sila nagtatago. Bakit tinawag pa? Kaya tinawag, He's giving them an opportunity to confess. Where are you? Tell me. Here, Joshua, give glory to God. What did you do? Achan replied, "It is true. I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. This is what I have done. When I saw in the plunder a beautiful robe from Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels, what did I do? I coveted them and took them. They are hidden in the ground inside my tent with the silver under them." Now, we now have the confession of Achan. He pleaded guilty before God. But I want you to notice the way of sin and the progression of sin in the life of Achan. This technique originated from the Garden of Eden. When Satan, the deceiver, approached Eve in the Garden of Eden, he did not show himself as a monster with 2 horns and a tail. He did not. He came to Eve as a very good salesman, okay? And who is introducing a very attractive product. That's what happened to Achan too. When I saw in the plunder a beautiful robe from Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold weighing 50. What did he do? I coveted them. What else did he do? He took them, and then after that, what did he do? They are hidden in the ground inside his tent. Did you see the progression of sin in the life of Achan? I saw them. I saw them, and then I coveted them, and then I took them, and then finally Achan said, I hid them. That is exactly the same sin. Eve saw the fruit. After she saw the fruit, what did she do? She coveted it. She coveted the fruit, and then she took it. It's happened exactly the way it happened in the Garden of Eden. Sins are interrelated. One sin will lead you to many sins. Now, in your notes, we can see the principle of sowing and reaping. Here's the principle number 1. You reap what you sow. Say amen. Amen. Now, even kindergarten knows this. That if you planted an apple, don't expect to harvest an orange. If you plant an apple, you will also reap an apple. But what's the point? The idea in this principle, if you sow love, you will also reap love. If you sow hatred, you will reap hatred. If you sow bitterness, you will reap lots of bitterness. If you are robbing God, you will reap the judgment of your action. Locusts, pestilence, sickness, problems, and they will devour your crops. The nature of that which you planted is what you will also reap. Now here's number 2. You reap more than you sow. And the people of God say, amen. You reap more than you sow. If you plant 1 seed of apple, it will produce a lot of branches, and those branches will produce a lot of apples in the very same way. Sin always produces a lot of problems and turmoils and sickness in our life. 1 sin produces more sin. Think of King David. In the book of 1 Samuel, the same pattern, same technique that Satan enticed King David to commit sin. First, he saw Bathsheba. Of all the times she wanted to take a bath, it was the same time that King David was resting in the roof of his palace. Now, God could have arranged the time of her taking a bath. But it didn't happen. Now, he saw Bathsheba taking a bath. The next, what happened? He coveted. He coveted Bathsheba. And then he committed adultery. So one sin had produced another branch of sin. Covetousness and adultery. He had no idea that eventually he had to keep this sin in a secret in his heart for a long time. And then it produces another kind of sin. This time, he committed murder. He never came to God voluntarily to repent. So his life produces a lot of sin. He lost his family. He lost the respect of his sons. His own sons sought to kill him. And until the time he died, he never regained his position of authority with his children. Because one sin led to more sin. He became one of the worst fathers in Israel. He reaped more than he sowed. But here's the third one. You reap in a different season than you sow. You know, when during my grade school, grade 3, we have a project in the garden. Sabi ng teacher ko, whoever planted a vegetables and whoever harvests the earliest will have a ticket to the baseball. At that time, basketball is not very popular in where I grew up. It's baseball. There's a ticket. So, I won the contest. You know what I planted? I planted munggo. Nilagyan ko ng tubig. In 2 days, it became toge. And I won because I am the earliest to harvest my crops. Right? But this principle is still the same. You reap in a different season than you sow. The law of sowing and reaping basically is this. You don't reap on the same day you planted the seed. You know, so many people today have said to me, I don't believe that if you smoke, you will get a lung cancer. Because they've been smoking for years and there's nothing wrong with their breathing at all. What they did not know is that it will take time before they harvest the fruit of their smoking. Right now, those microscopic holes in their lungs may seem very small. When the time comes, it will be too late. The whole lungs is already poisoned and dying. You reap in a different season than you sow. Now there was a man in Detroit in 2000, the year 2000, he was in a headline. He pulled a gun outside the casino and blew his head off. When the investigation was done, the homicide police found out that this man was a gambling addict. He owed so many people money. He owed the bank money. He had sold his house, his car, his watch, his coat. They also found out from his wife, who is now living with his older brother, that he started to go to casino a year ago with just $20. And before long, he sold his house, his car, his watch, his coat, and then he killed himself. You reap in a different season than you sow. So what do we have so far? People are interrelated, sins are interrelated, but here's the third one, and then we close. Judgment is interrelated. Judgment is interrelated. Now let's go back to the story of Achan. Verse 15 to 18. Okay? All the way, this is the process of elimination. In order to eliminate all those who are not guilty, there is a process. So, early in the morning, so it started before the sunrise, they started early. And they called, first is by tribes. All the tribes come forward. And Judah was taken. So they knew that the guy who did the sin is from the tribe of Judah. So all of the 11 tribes, out. Only one tribe now. From one tribe, they called it by clans. So all of the clans except the Zerahites, out. Now the group is too small now. It's getting small. Okay? Then from the Zerahites, they took it by families. And this time, God revealed that the guy who did this is in the family of Zimri. And then by head of the household, this time, Achan was taken. Now, as I've said a while ago, in the Old Testament, the only way to find out the man who was responsible for any disaster that happened in the life of Israel is to cast lots. Ano nga yun sa Tagalog ng lots? Cast lots? Lottery. Cast lots. Yun. Palapunutan. Palapunutan. Cast lots. In this case, the tribe by tribe has to come forward, then clan by clan, then family by family. It's a very long process of elimination. That's why they started early in the morning and they finished almost sunset. Now, if that is the case, that's the case. Why didn't Achan just shout at the back and said, "Stop! Stop! 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 It's me. It's me who did it." Bakit hindi niya ginawa? Because of shame. Hindi niya kayang tanggapin o aminin na siya yung gumawa. And many of us will do exactly the same thing. If we were caught in any kind of sin, we will lie, we will deny everything, we will rationalize, we will make excuses, we will do the best we can do to hide it. So don't blame Achan. Achan is always in the church with different last name. And because of that, the whole church suffers with one sin that is in the camp. So how did Joshua deal with the problems of a hidden sin? Now, this is what Joshua did. Then Joshua, together with all Israel, this is what he did. This is the execution of judgment. Then Joshua, together with all Israel, took Achan son of Zerah, the silver, the robe, the gold wedge, his sons and daughters, his cattle, his donkeys, sheep, his tent, and all that he had, they took it to the valley of Achor. Then all Israelites, what did they do? They stoned him, and after they had stoned the rest, they burned them. No, they don't use cremation at that time. They just burn them. Okay? Now, look, you see, in the covenant people of God, judgment is interrelated. Even though it was only Achan who was responsible for the defeat of the Israelites, all of his family members, his sons, his daughters, his wife, they have to be stoned to death. His livestock also, his cattle, his donkey, his sheep. Now, this guy is not a poor guy. He's rich. He had cattle, he had donkeys, he had sheep. Now, if he's a poor guy, probably we could understand, we can sympathize. Probably because of his poverty, he was able to. But he's not poor. He's not poor. Now, picture this in your mind. All of his little boys and girls, his wife, and Achan himself, all lined up in a straight line. And the whole men of Israel will pick up a stone, and one by one they will strike them. This is a live illustration how much God hates sin, especially the hidden sin. Sin that no one else knows except God. Another sin of Achan is greed. Because he is a wealthy man, and yet he coveted so much. He was controlled by greed. He wanted more and more. I'm done. I'm done with the message. We have finished the story of Achan. We now ready to leave Him alone. What does this message have got to do with us today? God is speaking to you and me. Is there any hidden sin in your life, and in my life? Is there any hidden sin in the church? How long have you been keeping it in your heart? Is there any hatred that you are keeping inside your heart? God knows it, and He can smell the odor of it. Is there any bitterness in your heart? Is the sin of unforgiveness residing in your heart? Someone offended you, someone hurt you, and until now you have not learned to forgive that person. How about the sin of the flesh, the craving for lust and covetousness? Now, how many of you, between you and the Lord, how many of you still remember that you owe someone and you have not paid that person? God knows it. And He keeps reminding you to pay that guy or that person. Pero sinasabi niyo lagi, nakalimutan niya na yun. Maliit lang naman yun. Don't do that. If you know you owe someone, be a man or be a woman. Make the initiative to pay that person. It doesn't matter. It's between you and the Lord. It's no longer between Him and you. It's no longer between that person that you owe money and you. It's now between you and the Lord. Because your sin can affect the whole church. God knows all about it, and He will remind you time and time again. Is there any sin of greed in your life? This sin is so deadly that it is so invisible from our human naked eye. Greed cannot easily be detected from the life of a believer. It has a lot of ways to hide itself. When you come to the altar of God and offer a portion of what God has given you, do you really give that which belongs to God, or you're stealing from the money that belongs to God? There was a couple in the book of Acts, Ananias and Sapphira. One day, one worship day, they placed in the offering plate probably the biggest offering of the day. They have just sold a piece of land, and they have agreed to give all the proceeds of the sale to the work of God. But when the time of offering comes, greed has overcome them. They decided to hide some of the money for themselves, and then they lied to God. They have committed the sin of greed. That day, both of them died. Is there any sin of envy in your life? The sin of envy is very possessive. You will know that you have the sin of envy in your life whenever you complain. Now, for those of you who are complainers, probably this sin is present in your life. How come I don't have a new shoes? She has a new shoes. How come I don't have a new bag? She has a new bag. How come there's so many people in the church they have wearing new things? I don't have. Envy is also a serious sin. What are we hiding in our tent? God can smell it from heaven. Some of us are addicted to lying. Some of you have the habit of taking some small items from your workplace. Scotch tape, paper clips, scissor, ball pen, pencil, highlighters. Bible calls them stealing. And God will not listen to our prayers if we do not make it right with God. Oh, maliit lang naman yun. Laki naman ng kumpanya namin. Liit-liit lang naman dito. Maliit na kasalanan lang ito, pastor. If we keep on hiding sin from God, never expect God to bless us. Joshua chapter 7 verse 6. Joshua tore his clothes and fell face down to the ground before the ark of the Lord. He prayed till evening. He was really broken before God. And yet, in verse 10, the Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up! What are you doing down on your face? This is not the time to pray, Joshua. I am not going to listen to you. Get up. If you want me to listen to you, then deal with me the sin of Israel. And then I will listen to you. You think that small sin, God will just look over it and say, okay, I'll still answer your prayers. No. We need to renew our commitment to God. Look at all this that I've just mentioned. Let me pray. Eternal God, our loving Heavenly Father, you know how much sin or sins we have been keeping in our hearts. And it is poisoning the whole congregation. Because people are interrelated, sins are interrelated, and judgment are also interrelated. Today, we are making decisions to deal with these sins once and for all. Father, we come to you today and ask you in Jesus' name. We come to you today, Lord, in the power of the Holy Spirit. We come to you broken, and we are asking your forgiveness. Forgive us of our sins, sin of prayerlessness, sin of hatred, sin of bitterness, sin of unforgiving spirit, sin of lust, sin of unpaid loan, sin of broken promises, sin of pride, of envy, sin of unfaithfulness, infidelity, sin of taking home some little items from the company we work, sin of greed and covetousness. Lord, we give them all to you. Once and for all, Lord, we want to be cleansed. Lord, it's one thing to be willing to serve you in the church where you have placed us. But we are not worthy because of the hidden sin. We will never be effective, Lord. So, Father, today, we pray a prayer of confession. It's just between you and each and every individual. You are the only one who knows whatever is hidden in our hearts. And we pray this in Jesus' name. And the people of God say, Amen. God bless you.